Hey guys, what's crackin'? Godsman here, coming at you with more Clan Collection reveals. Ah yes, another day, another set of reveals. In particular, we've got 7 this time around. But surprise, surprise, we've got only 1 card for Nova Grappler, which you see right here. 3 guesses to who this is. And then we've got 2 sets of 3 reveals, 1 for Nubatama and 1 for Murakumo. So we've got both of the ninja clans coming back to back, each with their own set of triple reveal. So that'll be something to look forward to. But let's start with the Nova Grappler, right? The lone Nova Grappler, Ultimate Life Form Cosmo Lord. Yes, so if we weren't already content with Ashura Kaiser as like a nostalgia support card, we've got just straight up nostalgia with like a season 1 card in Cosmo Lord. Now, what does he do? The first effect is a continuous on Vanna Rear, which is that during your turn, if you do not have any stand unit during your turn, I do not know why it says during your turn twice, LMAO, this unit gets 3k for each of your rear guards, so nice little buff up. Now the second effect is also on Vanna Rear, and it's an act to rest 2 of your rear guards, and for that cost you get an auto skill that at the end of the battle that it attacked, you counterblast 1 to stand it, and it gets -2 drive until end of turn. Okay, so this is a pretty cool card, but looking at Cosmo Lord objectively, I think it's pretty apparent that this is meant to be a rear guard and a backup Vanguard. So you will put this as a secondary grade 3 to whatever main strategy that you're doing. Evidence being that it's functional on the rear every bit as much as on the van. In fact, the fact that it -2 drives means that you're not going to get drive checks on the second attack regardless if it's on van or rear, unless you've like done some like finagling and gave it an extra drive. I'm not very knowledgeable in Nova Grappler, so I'm not sure how exactly you would do that, but hey, so be it, right? But anyway, still, this is pretty beefy. If you make this your final attack, it gets beefy as a mother effer, and on top of that, just resting 2 rears is an interesting cost. It doesn't have any counterblast behind that part of it, although you do counterblast to stand it, so in essence there is a counterblast like in the cost, but at least there's like not like an additional soul blast or discard or anything like that, you know, so you're not like really losing advantage with this, so that's cool, because advantage has always been a problem for Nova Grappler. Resting 2 rear guards though, it's debatable. That can kind of hurt because power lines in Nova tend to be kind of weak, so you could use every booster you got, right? Then again, if you're running good old Scarlet Bird, you can just make this essentially free aside from the counterblast by just restanding your entire field when you call Scarlet Bird, so that's a really cool combo with it. All in all, Cosmo Lord is pretty cool retrain of an old unit, very much in line with how like Owlleaf was retrained and whatnot. I don't know if it'll see play necessarily. It seems like it has potential as a rear guard. It's like a final swinger, and you know, of course, it's got the multi-attack going for it. You're exchanging like boosters potentially, but in exchange you do get like a nice final swing with some like kick up power. I don't know if you will prefer that or not. I'm not a Nova guy again, so hey, at least it's an option, right guys? And speaking of options, let's see what else Nubatama has got up their sleeves. Let's go. And we're back. So, next up is Nubatama, and surprise, surprise, we've got a whole 3 cards in a row for Nubatama, which, as we've discussed from the last video, means that via the pattern, there's gonna be, like, 1 gimmick that it supports, or 1 subclan. And that particular gimmick slash subclan is Evil Token. Yeah, interestingly enough, not straight up Hanzo support necessarily, it's just for evil tokens. So let's go down the list. First off, we've got the grade 1, which is Stealth Beast Megami. It's got 2 effects. First is an act on rear once per turn to retire a grade 0 token and soul charge 1. The second effect is at the end of the battle that it boosted a rear guard, you can soul blast 1 to bounce it and the boosted rear back to your hand. Pretty cool. Moving on to the next one. Evil Stealth Dragon Kakeugachi. So Kakeugachi has 2 skills as well. First one is auto. When it's placed on Vanna Rear, call up to 1 evil decoy token to rear circle for free. Second skill is an act on Vanna Rear. So you soul blast 1, and by doing so, all of your evil decoy tokens get 5k power and boost. Nice. The grade 3 is pretty interesting though. So Evil Stealth Dragon Makoroku Fugen has 3 skills. First is a continuous on Van, which is during your turn, all of your front row is going to get 5k for each of your evil decoy token. The second skill complements this very well by saying if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater and you have 3 or more evil decoy tokens, your front row will get a crit as well. And that doesn't stop. You've got a third skill. So auto on Van, when your rear guard is returned to your hand by a card ability, your card's ability specifically, call an evil decoy token to an open rear circle. Then you can counterblast 1 to get an imaginary gift to protect and put it on that circle. Alright, so looking at all this as a whole, yeah, this is pretty sweet. These are all like pretty much up to snuff with what we would want with evil decoy token. Megami is great resourcing and also has the bouncing effect, which is not just like synonymous with Nubatama as a whole, but in particular will trigger this third effect. The Kageuchi is another way to get a decoy token, which is always appreciated, and it's a free way of doing it. So it's very much like Sylvia, but for evil decoy tokens instead of plant tokens. And giving it boost and 5k power is also just amazing. Because again, like one of the struggles of the token is, sure, it's cool for intercepting and whatnot, and if you put protect 2s on them, then they're definitely good interceptors, but they don't really do much during your turn. They're just there as fodder or like as things to check with your skills. But now this is another way to make them relevant. There was another way to give them boost. I believe it was like Zangetsu that did that, although don't quote me on that. But with this, you get to yet again have more applications, so that's lovely. However, let's talk about Magoroku Fugen, right? So Magoroku Fugen is a little bit of an interesting unit. At first glance, you would say, oh, well, this is an alternative Vanguard for Hanzo. And I can see the argument for that, but I can also see an argument where this is meant to be more its own thing, right? Because, of course, Hanzo also does evil decoy token shenanigans, and that's fair, but Hanzo's always been more of like a weird hybrid of like defense multi-attack where you just like rack up some protect markers thanks to the cross-ride Hanzo, so to speak, and it does have some amount of offense, but it felt different from Fugen. Fugen is more outright aggressive, and the way that it defends, because it's sort of a hybrid of offense and defense as well, is by giving you the protect marker. So I'm not sure how well this synergizes with each other. They might interrupt each other, in fact. Fugen could be a final ride for Hanzo, though. It's potentially there. It depends on one big factor, which is that there is multi-attack coming by way of the Hanzo that we got from the clan selection set a few months back. But I don't know if that level multi-attack is going to beat out Fugen, which gives like presumably 15k and a crit to the front row, right? Because your aim is to get 3 decoy tokens to the back row. That's pretty strong too, and it feels a lot like Musketeers in the sense that you're sort of threatening lethal with each of your swings. They're kind of beefy, so you don't really have multi-attack, but your opponent's pressured to guard everything anyway, so it kind of evens out. It's something to be said. One thing though, one big issue, it's this third effect. So this third effect is weirded very odd, because at first glance you would say, oh, well, okay, you could choose a protect marker, put on that circle, like, cool, you know, that's protect 2, duh, you know, just put it behind your decoy token or something, you know, it's all copacetic. But what if you pick protect 1? So people have asked that question. Do you just have the protect 1 in the hand, or will it just like act as if you're trying to put it on the rear circle and it disappears? What happens? So I did some reading up, and people have debated about this, but I think we've come to the conclusion that this last part right here is a reminder text. And what that means is you are not going to be picking protect 1. If you have already picked protect 1, then this is just going to fizzle out, because it's going to try and place the protect marker, including the protect 1, onto the field. But as we know, protect 1s will fizzle out the moment you do that, the moment it leaves the hand. So because of that, you're going to want to go for Protect 2, because you don't just get a free Protect 1 with this, you only get free Protect 2s with this. That's something to really clarify here, and I'm not sure this is a good thing or a bad thing, because again, with the Hanzo playstyle, you were probably incentivized to go for Protect 1s, because it's really nice to make up that lost hand advantage, and, you know, Protect 1s can obviously keep you safe from, like, big devastating attacks, but with Fugen, you're going Protect 2, so that's a little bit anti-synergistic, very much in the same way as how Dragongo Lord the Rebirth was more about Force 1s, whereas the Cross typically went Force 2s. Yeah, I think we see the point here, right? This feels more like a different way to take evil Decoy tokens than like something to be splashed into Hanzo, but hey, you know what? That remains to be seen. We'll see if people actually do splash these together and find interesting results, but as it stands, I'm probably more inclined just to build Magoroku Fugen as its own deck. I'm not sure what your backup grade 3 would be in that case, but I'm sure there's something, right? There's got to be something. You know, this is Nubatama. You can run things like Mizukaze. You can also run things like Fuzen Kongo, right? There's plenty of like potential win cons you can put on the rear, which will be more devastating because you're going to give them more power and a crit. So yeah, now Fuzen Kongo is almost a certain guaranteed lethal when the opponent's at 4 damage. That's frightening. So I see a lot of potential with Fugen, but that's just my perspective. We'll have to wait and see. Now let's move on to the other ninja clan of the night and the final reveals of the night. See you there. Okay, back again. So the final reveals of the night are, as I've stated before, Murakumo, and look at this lovely card right here. Yeah, we got ourselves a new set of Stealth Fiends. Now, before y'all get your pants in a twist and be like, oh yeah, Neurohyoga support, Neurohyoga's finally good, it's gonna be busted, it's gonna break the meta. Hold your horses, because these Stealth Fiends are a bit particular. So, scrolling down here, let's start with the grade 3. So, the grade 3 is Shikigami Messenger Ryougi. So, it's got 3 effects. The first one being that act on Van, you can counterblast 1 to look at the top 5 cards of the deck. You choose a card with Stealth Fiend and its card name from among them, call the rear and shuffle. But if the opponent is grade 3 or greater, then you can call 2 Stealth Fiends instead from this effect. The second effect is an auto, that when your rear guard is placed by this unit's ability, so a la the first effect, and spoiler alert, the third effect, that unit gets this unit's card name until end of turn, so of course just to synergize with one of Murakumo's main gimmicks. The third effect, however, is probably the spiciest of it though. Auto on Van. When this unit's attack does not hit, you Soul Blast 2. Choose cards with Stealth Fiend in its card name from your drop zone up to the same number of your additional rear circle and call them to additional rear circle. Wow, there's a lot there, but let's hold off and read the grade 2 and the grade 1 that goes along with Ryougi. So, the grade 2 is Stealth Fiend Fukun. So, Fukun is a grade 2 with 2 skills. The first one being when it's placed on rear by card ability, this unit gets 5k until end of turn. The second effect is when this unit's attack does not hit, yes, that is Shadowstitch. Sorry, my English is poor. Clearly. If your Vanguard is Ryougi, so very specific Vanguard here, unfortunately, you put this unit into your soul, choose all of your rear guards with the same card name as your Vanguard, and they get power plus 5k until end of turn. The next card is a grade 1, which is Stealth Fiend Taizon. So Taizon has 2 skills as well. The first one being the same as the grade 2, which is when it's placed by an ability, you get 5k until end of turn. The second skill is more unique, however, which is that when it doesn't hit, again, Shadowstitch, and again, it's name locked to your Vanguard being Ryougi, you put this unit into your soul to look at top 7 cards of the deck, choose up to 1 grade 3 card from among them, reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle your deck. Okay, so low-key, these are my favorite reveals of the night, and it's not just for artwork. I mean, this artwork, pretty amazing. She looks beautiful, and the animals looks cool. I mean, this fox is mischievous, this mother effer. This raccoon is such a good, like, freaking mascot, of course. Reminds me a lot of that one number monster in Yu-Gi-Oh! That was also a raccoon, and I think she had like a drummer or whatever. Yeah, so they're pretty cool. Now, let's go over the effects though. Right away, as a lot of you may have noticed, these cards are indeed Stealth Fiends, and yes, Neurohyoga can use them. The first effect of the grade 2 and the grade 1 in particular is fairly splashable with Ryougi because them getting buffed by being placed by card ability is great for that deck, because the bigger your numbers, the more likely that it's like very vicious ride or die multi-attack is able to get through and beat the opponent. That said, the second effects are locked into Ryougi, which basically cements the idea that Ryougi should be her own Vanguard. I know some people will probably want to hybridize this with Ryougi, but in a very similar vein to how the Nubatama reveals, despite sharing a commonality with the Hanzo support, seem to be different from the Hanzo support, Ryougi feels like a different way to do Stealth Fiends, and I do appreciate her way of doing it, because Ryougi is a Vanguard that does not feel very reliant on Stealth Fiends. Sure, to maximize her value, the thing you're getting back are Stealth Fiends, but you don't need to play a deck necessarily full of Stealth Fiends. You can just abstain and only play the good Stealth Fiends, and then you'll still be able to call a bunch of cards and then like multi-attack with them. So that's pretty cool, honestly. This is a really nice way of also getting multi-attack. It's not necessarily as like vicious as Ryougi can be. I don't think it high rolls as much, but I mean, hey, it's great on pressure, a la Shadowstitch being like such a great like G mechanic for Murakumo. It was a little bit controversial. Some people were like for it, others were like nah. I like Shadowstitch. I thought it was a cool concept for it, and this is redone in these effects magnificently. There's so much pressure. You do not want to let this hit, and if it hits, you're golden. If this hits, oh boy, you're getting some good power buffs. You get this, then you either get Persona Ride, probably, or you can also get a Ryougi, because again, Ryougi is a nice generic grade 3 for all Murakumo decks. Great defensively. And although Ryougi is a Soul Blast 2 and Ryougi is a Soul Blast 2 as well, keep in mind that Fukun and Taizan Shadowstitch puts themselves into Soul to help pay for this. In fact, this is very synergistic, because if you have Fukun and Taizan going to Soul, you can then Shadow Stitch with Ryougi, Soul Blast those two out, and then subsequently call those two back to the rear circles, assuming you have 2 Excel markers. That's very synergistic. That's really cool multi-attack. Now, of course, if your opponent's low on damage, this probably doesn't feel as effective, but the moment you put your opponent at high damage, like they're at 4 or God forbid 5, this deck is fully online, and it's gonna like run them over, because they're gonna almost certainly have to take a damage at some point. It's just so devastating what you're doing here with so much like hit pressure, or rather not hit pressure. It's like either you take the damage or we get this. It's like the superior form of on hits, if you ask me. So yeah, this is probably gonna be its own deck. Ryougi could use it, but I think these are gonna be like Ryougi's gonna be her own deck, but both of them are going to use Fukun and Taizan. What I'm more interested about seeing is what cards that a Ryougi deck specifically is going to use. Because again, I'm thinking about Ryougi, and it would make sense to have more Soul Chargers if you're trying to use Ryougi and whatnot, so that your Soul Blast 2s are actually like feasible, so you can run like a Ryougi engine to go with it, like Rainy Madame and Jakotsu Girl. But on top of that, also probably some more Stealth Fiends. So there's a lot to consider in terms of deck build, but this deck looks pretty promising. Not necessarily competitively speaking, although hey, it might be, but just because it looks so freaking fun, and it just feels so in line with what Murakumo was trying to do. The multi-attack, the name cloning, all the superior calls, and of course the Shadow Stitch. So brilliantly done. I love these reveals. And that's going to do it for today. Well guys, we're going full steam ahead with clan collection reveals. A lot of them keep on getting revealed all the time, but I'm noticing an absence of some clans that we've been wanting. You know, where's our Royals? Where's our Golds? Where's our Aquas? Hell, where's our Mega Colony, right? So I'm super excited to see what else we've got for those clans, and I'm secretly hoping that we get just like sets of 3 reveals for those clans as well, because I just want dedicated support for like a particular playstyle. But we're gonna have to wait and see, especially since all but one of the clans I just mentioned do not have the reverse unit yet, so those could end up being standalone Vanguards, and then they like support other stuff, all Astrid reverse, and then do something that aren't Jewel Knights on the side. But we're gonna have to wait and see, because Bushi low-key throwing some curveballs. We don't know what to expect from him at this point, so it keeps things like super surprising, super exciting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you guys are too. If you want to see more Vanguard content, or if you would like to leave me any comments down below on this reveal today, please feel free to do so, and subscribe to me for more content. And with that, Take care, and God bless.